Do you not remember the God who stood over the waters of the deep and commanded them to part? The God who breathed upon the Red Sea and made a path through the impossible? The same God who told Moses to stretch forth his staff, not as a sign of human strength, but as a symbol of divine authority. That same God, the God of the Exodus, the God of the wilderness, the God of impossible deliverance, he is the one who is with you now. The enemy wants you to forget. He wants you to remember only the chariots of Pharaoh, the dust rising behind you, the waves in front of you, the fear inside you. He wants you to see the impossibility of escape, to hear the voices of doubt echoing through the camp. But the God who is with Moses is not a God of yesterday only. He is the same yesterday, today, and forever. What he did for them, he can do for you. But he has not changed. He has not weakened. He has not stepped down from the throne. He is still the one who speaks and creation responds. When the Israelites stood between the army and the sea, it was not a mistake. God had led them there. He brought them to the edge, not to destroy them, but to reveal himself. For when the path is clear, man can boast in his own strength. But when there is no way forward and no way back, and every door is shut and every voice is silenced, then only God can move. And when he moves, all the glory belongs to him. He is the God of the narrow place, the God of the last moment, the God who waits until all other hopes are exhausted, so that your hope can rest in him alone. He brought them to the Red Sea, not to end the journey, but to begin a new identity. No longer slaves, but sons. No longer victims, but victors. And the sea that stood in front of them became the altar of transformation. What was once an obstacle became the place of crossing. That same Spirit is at work in your life. You may see the waves, but he sees the path. You may feel surrounded, but he is already working. He doesn't need a natural way. He is the God of the supernatural. He doesn't need logic. He moves in mystery. He doesn't require the approval of men. He moves by his own will and by his own word. And when he speaks, nothing can stand in his way. When God is for you, the sea must part. When he is with you, the desert becomes a sanctuary. When he goes before you, giants fall, walls crumble, and rivers turn back. He does not measure the situation by your strength, but by his purpose. He does not consult your weakness before he acts. He declares the end from the beginning and then brings it to pass. So do not fear the waters ahead. Do not shrink back when there seems to be no way. You were not meant to live by sight. You were not redeemed to walk by reason. You are called to trust, to believe, to stand, to stretch forth your staff, not because you are mighty, but because he is. And when you obey, even in trembling, even in weakness, then the miracle begins. The same wind that parted the sea for Moses is blowing even now. The same voice that called Lazarus from the tomb is still speaking. The same fire that fell on Mount Carmel still burns in the Spirit. The same hand that shut the mouths of lions in Babylon is stretched out toward you. He has not forgotten you. He has not abandoned his promise. He has not changed his covenant. The waves may roar, the chariots may charge, but his word is stronger than both. And what was it that made the sea split? Was it the shouting of the people? Was it the military strategy of Israel? No. It was the obedience of one man who dared to believe that if God said it, he would do it. One man with no sword in hand, with no army at his back, only a staff and a word from heaven. That was enough. Number 3, and then we're done, and I got to list a series of things because it is not about the sea, it is about the God who walks on water. It is not about the army behind you, it is about the cloud of glory above you. It is not about what you lack, it is about who is with you. And if he is with you, if he is truly for you, then nothing, no sea, no storm, no enemy, no fear can stand in your way. Why does the enemy rise against you? Why do the storms gather at the edge of your breakthrough? It is not random. It is not meaningless. There is a mystery hidden in the conflict, a secret that only those who walk with God can perceive. The opposition you face is not simply a burden. It is a sign. It reveals that you carry something dangerous to the kingdom of darkness. The enemy does not war against the empty, does not attack the barren. He fears the ones who are carrying destiny. When the Israelites cried out for deliverance, the enemy responded with heavier chains. When Moses appeared in Egypt, not with an army, but with a rod and a word from God, Pharaoh did not yield. He resisted. He increased the oppression. He hardened his heart. Why? Because he knew his kingdom was under threat. So it is with you. The enemy increases pressure, not because you are losing, but because you are nearing the gates. He sees what you cannot. He sees the angels gathering. He hears the sound of heaven moving on your behalf. He feels the ground trembling with the footsteps of your assignment. And so he strikes not to stop your weakness, but to prevent your rising strength. Your battle is not only about the moment you are in, it is about the future that has already been written over your life. It is about the souls connected to your obedience. It is about the doors that will open when you refuse to retreat. So the warfare you face is not personal only, it is prophetic. It is not just about you, it is about everything that flows through you. Your children, your legacy, your ministry. Your breakthrough is a threat to every stronghold that has tried to linger in your bloodline. And that is why the enemy fights so fiercely. But what he forgets is that you are not fighting alone. You are not facing opposition as one abandoned. You are facing it as one commissioned. You are sent into the battle not as prey, but as a weapon. You are not there by mistake. You are there by divine assignment. And the very fact that you are being resisted is proof that the enemy recognizes your potential more than you do. He knows what will happen if you press through. He knows what will be unleashed if you don't give up. He fears your persistence more than your perfection. He fears your endurance more than your eloquence, because those who keep standing will eventually step into victory. When Nehemiah began to rebuild the walls of Jerusalem, the mockers rose. Sanballat, Tobiah, and Geshem, the voices of distraction, of accusation, of intimidation. They laughed, they lied, they threatened. But why did they fight so hard against stones and gates? Because Nehemiah was not just building a wall, he was restoring identity. He was rebuilding a testimony. And that's what your battle is about. It's about the rebuilding of things that were torn down. It's about the restoration of what was lost. It's about the reestablishment of a testimony in your life that the world said could never rise again. So, the opposition that comes against you, it is not the end. It is the beginning of the unveiling. The fire does not destroy the gold. It reveals its purity. The furnace does not consume the 3 Hebrew boys. It becomes the place of encounter, and the lion's den does not devour Daniel. It reveals that God is still God in Babylon. So, don't be surprised when the resistance comes. Don't think it's strange when the pressure increases. It is not a sign that God has left you. It is the mark that he is about to reveal himself through you. The greater the resistance, the greater the revelation, the louder the roar of the enemy, the closer the footfall of heaven. When David stepped onto the battlefield, he did not come with the armor of men. He came with the presence of the living God. The others saw a boy, but Goliath was not facing a boy. He was facing the name of the Lord, and that name changes everything. You see, the enemy often roars, not because you are weak, but because he hopes you never realize who is with you. He hopes you never discover the truth of your identity. Because when you know who walks beside you, the battle is no longer yours. It belongs to the Lord. Identity is not shaped by the battle you face. It is not defined by the size of the obstacle or the number of voices raised against you. It is determined by the one who formed you in the secret place, who called you by name before you were ever born, before you were ever wounded, before you ever failed. Before the storm ever came, God had already spoken over your life. And when he speaks, that word cannot be undone. The world may give you names, failure, broken, forgotten, but God gives you a name that is eternal, redeemed, chosen, loved, called. He does not name you according to your scars. He names you according to his purpose. Moses stood trembling before the burning bush, offering excuses. Who am I? He asked. What if they don't believe me? I cannot speak. And yet God did not answer with encouragement or flattery. He didn't say, Moses, you are stronger than you think. No, he simply said, I will be with you. Because it was never about Moses. It was about the one who called him. Identity is not self-discovered. It is God-declared. And when you receive that identity, you step into the authority of his presence. The world teaches you to measure yourself by performance, by what you have accomplished, by who approves of you. But the kingdom of God does not operate that way. In the kingdom, identity comes before assignment. You are not what you do what you do because of who you are. Jesus had not yet performed a miracle, had not yet preached a sermon, when the Father said, "This is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased." See, that word was not spoken at the end of the ministry. It was spoken at the beginning. Because the Father does not wait until you succeed to love you. He loves you at the beginning. He loves you because he is love and because you belong to him. So the battle then is not just external, the battle is internal. It is about believing what God says about you more than what the enemy whispers to you. The enemy will always try to make you doubt your identity, because if he can steal your identity, he can disarm your authority. That is what he did in the garden. He did not come with a sword, he came with a question. Did God really say? He challenged the words spoken over Adam and Eve because he knew if they forgot who they were, they would no longer walk in dominion. But God is restoring identity. He is calling his people back to the truth of who they are in him. He is silencing the lies of the accuser. He is clothing his children not with the rags of shame, but with the robes of righteousness. He is anointing those who once hid in fear to now stand in boldness. Gideon, who called himself the least, became a mighty warrior when he stopped defining himself by his weakness and started believing the word of the Lord. In the kingdom of God, victory is not determined by odds, statistics, or earthly strength. It is not secured by numbers, influence, or might. It is forged in covenant. Covenant is not an agreement written in ink. It is a bond sealed in blood. And the blood that speaks over your life is not the blood of bulls or goats, but the blood of the spotless Lamb. The blood testifies louder than your failures. That blood silences the voice of the accuser. That blood declares that victory does not belong to the one with the greatest army, but to the one who belongs to the Most High. In the days of old, armies would gather by size. They would count their warriors. They would weigh their swords. They would measure their chances. But when Gideon stood with 32,000, the Lord said it was too many. He reduced them to 10,000, still too many, and finally to 300. Why? Because victory was never to be attributed to the strength of man. It was to be a revelation of the God of the covenant, and it was to be told to God in man's speech that small toil was the covenant. The odds no longer mattered, because covenant overrules odds. 300 men without swords, carrying torches and trumpets, routed the camp of Midian, not because of skill, but because of the presence of God. This is the mystery of those who walk under covenant. They move in a power that is not their own. They carry a name that was given to them from heaven. The walls of Jericho did not fall because of weapons. They fell because of obedience to a divine strategy. Marching, blowing trumpets, and shouting. Foolishness to the world, but faith before the throne. The covenant turned the ridiculous into the miraculous. The book of Israel. It transformed weakness into strength, because covenant does not operate on human logic. It operates on divine order. When David faced Goliath, he refused Saul's armor. He did not trust in the weapons of the world. He carried a sling and 5 stones, but more than that, he carried covenant. He said, "You come against me with sword and spear, but I come against you in the name of the Lord of hosts, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied." That was not bravado. That was covenant language. David knew that the God of Abraham had bound himself to his people with an everlasting promise, and that promise does not break under pressure. Covenant means God has placed his name on you. It means he has sworn by himself because there is none higher. It means he watches over his word to perform it. It means what he has spoken he will bring to pass. It is not based on your perfection. It is based on his faithfulness. It is not upheld by your strength. It is upheld by his mercy. And when you walk in covenant, the outcome is not dependent on how great the battle is, but on how great your God is. When Israel crossed the Jordan and entered the Promised Land, the first city they faced was Jericho, a fortified city with walls that reached to the heavens. From a human standpoint, it was impenetrable. But they were not operating under human authority. They were moving in alignment with the covenant given to Abraham, confirmed to Isaac, reaffirmed to Jacob, and fulfilled through Moses. And now, through Joshua, the covenant was advancing. The Lord had no choice but to fall, because covenant carries the authority of heaven. Covenant shifts the atmosphere. Covenant turns battles before they begin. You are not standing in your own strength. You are not facing your challenges alone. You are walking in the power of covenant. That is why the enemy trembles. That is why the opposition rises. Not because of who you are in the natural, but because of who is standing with you in the spirit. The enemy sees the seal. He sees the blood. He sees the name. And he knows that he cannot touch what belongs to God. He can threaten. He can accuse. He can roar, but he cannot revoke the covenant. The blood has already been shed. The cross has already spoken. The resurrection has already declared the outcome. This is why Paul said, "In all these things we are more than conquerors through him who loved us," not because of favorable conditions, but because of unbreakable covenant. Even in tribulation, even in the throne of God is not shaken by the threats of men. His purposes are not altered by the schemes of the enemy. His plans are not hindered by circumstances or delays. What he has spoken, he will fulfill. What he has begun, he will complete. And when he places his hand upon a life, that life becomes marked by eternity. The calling cannot be revoked by accusation. The favor cannot be withdrawn by adversity. The presence of opposition does not mean you are off course. It means you are on the brink of divine movement. But it was not in the palace that Joseph found his destiny, but in the prison. It was not in ease that Paul found his voice, but in chains. It was not on the mountaintop that Elijah encountered the whisper. It was in the cave. The purposes of God often move through the places man avoids, because in those places, the noise of self is stripped away. In those places, faith is refined. And in those places, the power of God is for me becomes not just a verse, but a revelation. If God is for me, then I do not need the applause of the crowd. I do not need the approval of the gatekeepers. I do not need the assurance of the familiar, because his word is enough. His voice is the compass. His presence is the provision. If God is for me, then the wilderness becomes holy ground. The delay becomes divine training. The detour becomes a straight path hidden in plain sight. What the world calls lost time, God calls preparation. The enemy is a liar. He will point to the silence and call it abandonment. He will point to the closed door and call it rejection. He will point to the struggle and call it a curse. But the one who knows their God will not be deceived. Because silence does not mean absence. It means God is working in dimensions unseen. Closed doors are often his protection. Struggle is not a curse. It is the forge of calling. And those who endure in the fire emerge with authority. Look at the Messiah, despised and rejected, a man of sorrows, acquainted with grief. He was not crowned in gold, but in thorns. He was not enthroned by men, but lifted up on a cross. And yet it was through that suffering that the victory came. It was through the wounds that healing was born. It was through the death that life was released. So do not fear the path that seems dark, for even the cross became the gateway to resurrection. If God is for you, then no darkness can extinguish the light that he has placed in you. There is a reason why the enemy fights certain seasons of your life with greater intensity. He discerns the weight of what is coming. He senses the movement of heaven. He sees the seeds of breakthrough taking root beneath the surface. And so he stirs fear. He inflames doubt. He provokes confusion. But all of it is smoke. It is illusion. Because the truth remains, God is for you. And if he is for you, then the battle belongs to him. There are assignments that God has placed on your life that no man can cancel. There are doors he will open that no one can shut. There are territories you are meant to take that the enemy has tried to guard with intimidation and delay. But when God steps in, the walls fall. When God breathes, the dry bones rise. When God speaks, the grave lets go. And he is not a passive observer. He is a man of war. The Lion of Judah does not retreat. He advances. So walk forward even when the ground shakes. Speak the word even when your voice trembles. Declare his promise even when your eyes do not yet see the evidence. Because faith does not wait for proof. Faith walks because of the one who is faithful. And if God is for you, then there is no giant too tall, no sea too wide, no fire too hot, no prison too strong. His presence dismantles the opposition. His name breaks the yoke. His spirit empowers the weak. You are not walking into defeat, you are walking into fulfillment. You are not barely surviving, you are carrying destiny. And the weight you feel is not the burden of failure, it is the weight of glory being prepared for you. The pressing is producing oil. The breaking is birthing boldness. And the resistance is awakening revelation, not because of who you are in yourself, but because of who walks beside you. Because God is not only near, he is for you. He has gone ahead of you. He stands behind you. He surrounds you with favor like a